So I'm back again, but this time, rather than talking about anxiety and trauma, I actually want to speak today about. I've got my notes again just in case I need them for my memory. I want to talk about what's been happening really with the government in the UK, with people's mental health and physical health for that matter. So as you can see, I'm wearing a t-shirt that says freedom because I'm one of the probably dissenting voices, and I'm proud of being that person, and I've got nothing to hide and everything to say. And yeah, so for weeks now I've been researching this so-called pandemic, and I've explored what doctors have said and the government, scientists, the statistics, and come to the conclusion that this has been a massively exaggerated response by the government to quarantine healthy people. Never been done before, the new thing, as we all know. And I've said on Facebook about this, about how I personally don't agree with it. There are quite a few of us, admittedly, which is really, really good. I've spoken about the effects of social distancing on mental health. I've spoken about people not receiving treatment for other health conditions, and dying or will die as a result of this pandemic. I've said about the ruination of the economy, people's lives effectively being destroyed. I've spoken about children suffering and going without or going hungry, and also domestic violence that has gone up, as we know. I've spoken also about the funerals that have not been able to be attended, and women also giving birth and fathers not being able to be there, not being present and missing out on that experience. So my view is, shared with a few others, that the government are lying. They have done all the time anyway, so why people are believing them is beyond me. The coronavirus scare is a hoax. When I say that as a hoax, I mean the way that they've put it across. And so this YouTube video could well get censored because I'm saying that it's a total hoax. But basically the problem is that we've been brainwashed by education right from the very start. We've been told to believe in authority, to obey authority. You've only got to look at Milgram's experiments about how over 80% of people would obey a figure in authority just because they were wearing a white coat. And that meant delivering shocks to somebody that they didn't even know and actually potentially harming them, and they still did it. More than 80% of people, well, I would be in the 20%. We've been indoctrinated, yeah. So that when you do speak out, like myself and many others, we are branded as conspiracy theorists. That's a popular one, isn't it? Anybody that speaks out, rather than being a critical thinker with an open mind, no, we're conspiracy theorists. Oh, woohoo, tinfoil hat. So, insulted, sworn at, bullied, gagged, censored, even hated. Yeah, it's even gone that far. They've done a really good job in dividing us. Brilliant. But it hasn't stopped me, and it never will stop me, actually. I'm going to continue to speak out. I'm going to continue to say how I feel, whether that's this way or whether it's on Facebook or any other medium. I will continue to say what I believe to be true. I will always speak my truth. So the friends that I have lost, in my mind, well, they never were my friends, I've actually unfriended people myself, people who have decided that in their wisdom that they think it's a good idea to just ignore me or send me to Coventry, and that's pretty toxic and shows a level of control. I don't like people like that and don't want people like that in my life. So we've had plenty of statistics to demonstrate that this virus attacks mostly the immune compromised, those with underlying health conditions, and the elderly. Yet so many people are still acting like the Black Death is out there, waiting to infect them. People in cars with masks on, as if they expect this pesky virus to seep through their windows, and it's not likely to do that. It's a virus with actually a 99.95% survival rate. So we are focusing on such a relatively small amount with these huge measures that inflict an absolute cost on many more. It is disproportionate in response. That's why I believe it to be a hoax, because it is completely disproportionate in response. Sorry, having trouble saying that word. The figures do actually speak for themselves. It's all out there. If you just care enough and stop flapping around like idiots and doing this whole "oh my God" thing and blaming others as well for not being socially distant, that's big. The blame game is huge. There are allegedly about maybe more, just over 300,000 deaths of this virus. And that's up against the number of people who die globally from flu, which is 650,000. So it's a bit of a difference, isn't it? But you didn't care about that last year, did you? You didn't care that there were all those people dying last year because this virus is different. Oh, it does all of this, it does all of that. But the problem is the cure will kill more than the actual virus. So, and because, think about this, why are people who are dying of cancer, heart disease, COPD, which will often get put down as COVID-19, I know, but why are those people less important than people dying of CV-19? Why? I actually do volunteer for the Royal Volunteer Society to help people who are in isolation. Most of the people who ring up are older and they often have underlying health conditions such as COPD. And I had one woman ring up and she's a grandmother and she can't get to see her grandchildren and she has cancer. She's not receiving treatment for that cancer, which is terrible in my mind. The government have blood on their hands for this. And as a result, she won't see her grandchildren and she probably will die before she gets to see them. You think the government care about you? Our Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, he voted for austerity. He voted against the nurses getting a raise. He voted against the NHS and then received care from the NHS. That shouldn't have happened. They lie, and yet so many people continue to believe them. And this whole Cummings thing, for example, it's nothing to do with him being a hypocrite, really. It's much more to do with the fact that he lies. He doesn't even believe in it himself. That is enough to show you. Not to mention Ferguson and his crappy, rubbish mathematical model. Why would anyone rely on someone like him? It's unbelievable, because he has been wrong countless times before, and yet they followed his advice. Go figure. So you're manipulated, or many of us are being manipulated by people who care about power and control. That's what they care about. They don't care about you. And when your children and your children's children ask you what you did, what do you want to tell them? You want to tell them that you just abused those that stood up and tried to fight against it? Is that what you want to say? Or are they going to get so used to living in a controlled society where they can't move, where they have no freedom? Is that what you want? Is that what you want for your kids? For your kids' kids? Because if you don't, then you need to do something about it now. Join with other people who don't believe in this hoax and make a difference. Stand up and be counted. I have spoken to nurses. I do know that there is an illness. I am not trying to say that it doesn't exist. I'm saying the response is wrong. It's not in proportion to the threat. That's what I'm saying. I know it exists, and I do know of nurses that have helped and nursed people with COVID-19, and I know that it's a nasty illness. But I also know that in most cases it affects people who have a compromised immune system or have an underlying health condition. And I'm also aware of the fact, and as many people are, that CV19 is being put on death certificates when it wasn't that was the cause of death, which gives exaggerated figures. And there's people even going to court over it. So we need to wake up, face what is happening here. Do we want to live a life where we are under house arrest, essentially? I know that's not what I want. And if you don't want that either, then speak up and be counted. That's me, over and out. Thank you.